So here it is, the snake. It's called the snake. On her way to work one morning, down the path along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen snake. His pretty-colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. "Poor thing," she cried, "I'll take you in, and I'll take care of you." The border. "Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman," sighed the vicious snake. She wrapped him up all cozy in a comforter of silk and laid him by her fireside with some honey and some milk. She hurried home from work that night, and as soon as she arrived, she found that pretty snake she'd taken in had been revived. "Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman," sighed that vicious snake. She clutched him to her bosom. "You're so beautiful," she cried. "But if I hadn't brought you in by now, oh heavens, you would have died." She stroked his pretty skin again and kissed him and held him tight. But instead of saying thank you, that snake gave her a vicious bite. "Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman," sighed the vicious snake. "I have saved you," cried the woman, "and you've bitten me, heavens, why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die." "Oh, shut up, silly woman," said the reptile with a grin. "You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in."
Welcome back to another video. This video, once again, is about things that's going on in this world right now. Things I would like you to understand. I have some videos I'm going to play. I really want you to listen to what these people are saying, because it rolls out into my last video where I talked about the chipping, the nanobites, the things that's going to be rolled out on us as we get closer and closer. If you ever looked at the movie 1984, you'll understand some of this. George Orwell. You'll see a lot of things that people talked about are starting to roll out. Actually, what's happening to us right now is Agenda 21. By 2030, there's supposed to be a fulfillment and levels of this agenda. What they're going to do is our thoughts, our whatever we do, where we walk, where we go, we're going to be tracked. You know, if you ever seen the movie Enemy of the State with Will Smith, where they track him and they was trying to get him down for all your devices that you have. There's cameras everywhere. The people are cameras. You know, our phones activated. Or what it's going to do is when they go to digital money, what you're going to have to worry about when they go to digital money. And I told you in my last film, it's weird. I just seen this on CNN. And I've been talking about it for a couple of years, that they're going to try to do away with money. And this is a good reason with this virus. They're going to say it's passing money. It's going to be on the virus is going to be on the money, so your coins and your cash. And so what that does is they'll do away with coins and cash. So now those who get paid in cash is going to be tough on you, because you would have to have digital accounts. And a lot of your places is not going to take cash no more. They're going to want to do digital. I want you to have the chip for you to get fed or to eat, to drink or whatever you may need. Your commodities are going to be all digital. And what happens with that is I'm from a generation where they were panicking about Y2K. Y2K was a time when they thought all the systems and computers would shut down and it'd be the end of the world. Well, if we put everything digital, and then all we have to do is say in the name of terrorists that EMP hit, and what that is, electrical, what will blow out the circuit. So there's nothing to show any data or anything of who had what and money and whatnot, except for what commodities are left. It'll be about commodities and not paper money or digital or whatever it may be. So what I want you to get prepared for is to understand this is why we're not being able to get seeds. We're going to be dependent on just their services alone, and it's going to be a very, very small population. I did see a map, like I said, where they wanted to do away with most of the western of North America and make it more middle and East Coast habitable and not the West. So what I want you to understand is that they're trying to depopulate, they're trying to control. We look at China and all of them being communists. Well, it's coming this way. So I want you to be prepared, and I want you to understand what's rolling out on us. And this is only stages till 2030, but they have another stage that's rolling out for 2050. Now, what that would be is we should be all artificial intelligent. We should be controlled by robots. We should be controlled like these entities that they have, people who do DMT, and they're priests or shamans. They take these heavy drugs and they go way under, and they talk to these entities supposedly as telling them to do this evil stuff. Because as I searched back in time and I studied books, I was wondering who could be so smart to let humanity know the things that they know. And then as I studied from even the sulfur from mountains, from peyote to the Indians, everyone who has took a high intense drug, they see things and they talk with things. Well, the government, NASA, your shadow government, is actually having certain specialists to go under and make deals with these entities in other realms. We would call aliens. Aliens is something else than humans, and they make deals with them. You know, this is where your children come missing. They're missing children, and things are going on that in the dark realm that we don't see. We just hear about kids missing. But you know what's going on is they're have a secret agenda rolling out for humanity. And this is why you see a lot of things are being controlled. It's going to be everything that we have is going to be so controlled. So watch this video as this woman breaks down some of the things that she understands. Thank you.
And I would say that they have a duty to sit back, watch, behave, wash their hands, stay in the apartment with mom and dad. They look like they're lucky to have you as a father. And just learn from it.
The stay-at-home enforcement is a psychological practice run, which, in essence, lightly mimics introverted living, preparing millennials to cope with self-containment the way they will be held in FEMA camps. They are also using this chance to test out universal basic income, while preconditioning everyone to psychologically get used to the system failing, so that everyone will be mentally stable when the big one hits, and will be expecting their rescue. The Corona simulation seeks to condition you to value authority as trustworthy and helpful to coexist with and live under in a state of emergency. They want you to see military personnel as your friends and get you used to their uniforms and level of control over you. The sum of all of these changes happening at once are presets for Agenda 2030, which, referring back, is a plan to reset society and reboot it to a dramatically different system, which requires the old system to be destroyed. A new system which seeks to spy on every citizen's daily actions, with even more stricter surveillance to rank all citizens as the Chinese do to their people. A system which seeks to eliminate cash and property ownership, and go completely digital using RFID microchip hand implants to replace credit cards. A system which seeks to eliminate all classes, personal belongings, and assets, while promising to treat everyone to the same shared experience of life under a socialist utopia, gifted to you by Big Brother and the all-watching eye of its tentacles of power. Agenda 2030 is not a utopia for those who value freedom, traditional family, and privacy. This is why we see these rights today being trampled over now. They are testing to see how much you are willing to give up in trade for more and more security, and free stuff. It is human bait to trap you, luring you to enslavement. Do not let it tempt you. This kind of future is pure imprisonment of free will itself, and is a death-promised servitude to serve your all-ruling masters of the state. To stop it, you're going to need to arm yourself with knowledge and grow with our already growing resistance. With the new powers gained from this pandemic scare, the elite plan to use them to purposely destabilize the already fragile United States economy, and ignite a class war with the target of destroying the middle class. Non-essential businesses are being liquidated. Businesses everywhere are already refusing to accept cash with fear of transmitting the virus on circulating dollar bills. After all this, they can use it as an example of how the fiat cash-based currency reached its finish, and then go on to form a cashless society from the wake of the chaos. If we don't call them out now as a collective or take actions to stop them, they are just going to continue to make even more devastating power plays like they did this year to bring all nations down to their knees and keep the poor begging the rich for a solution, which they already premeditated and pre-mapped out precisely for this moment, and it is called Agenda 2030. Please follow the links below to learn more about Agenda 2030.
1933, when we were collateralized against the debt, our birth certificates were collateralized against the debt, and all land and property was collateralized against the debt. We effectively own nothing, and we are sharecroppers on the land. This is why we're seeing land grabs. This is what we saw at the Bundy Ranch. We were up there covering the Bundy Ranch, and it is a massive land grab under UN Agenda 21. And Clark County, where that ranch is, has signed on and is abiding to the climate action plans in UN Agenda 21. Just as all of our cities and counties across the country and other countries have signed on to this. There's really nowhere that I have not found a climate action plan. The bankruptcy of the United States. Mr. Speaker, we are here now in Chapter 11. Members of Congress are official trustees presiding over the greatest reorganization of any bankrupt entity in the history, the U.S. government. We are setting forth, hopefully, a blueprint for our future. There are some who say it is a coroner's report that will lead to our demise. It is an established fact that the United States federal government had been dissolved by the Emergency Banking Act of March 9, 1933, declared by President Roosevelt, being bankrupt and insolvent. It goes on to say that the joint resolution to suspend the gold standard and aggravate the gold clause dissolved the sovereign authority of the United States and the official capacities of all United States governmental officers, and departments, and it's further evidence that the United States federal government exists today in name only. The receivers of the United States bankruptcy are the international bankers via the United Nations, the World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund. All United States offices, officials, and departments are now operating within a de facto status in name only under emergency war powers. The federal government exists in name only. We do not have the representative government that we have been psychologically programmed to believe that we have. And our children are learning the same thing we learned. And this is very, very dangerous. Our educational system is extremely dangerous. I'm going to read a few things. And this may be rather startling as well. First, I just want to say that CAL FIRE has been tasked here in Sonoma County to come up with the cause of the fire. It's important to understand that CAL FIRE has signed on to UN Agenda 21 policies. You will never hear about directed energy weapons. You will never hear about the smart meters' effect on these fires. You will never hear that. Never. Now, we have a YouTube up, and it's called The Plan to Burn Up Northern California. This was put on the internet 2.5 years ago when I was on the program with Jeff Rentz just after the assassination attempt on his life. And what this is, the plan that I discussed, it's actually two plans. The first plan has now occurred here in Sonoma County and, of course, in Southern California as well, where our research team found 2 documents out of the California Public Utility Commission and Pacific Gas and Electric when they were being sued for spying on those people that were effectively breaking out the news across the country about the smart meters. There was a tremendous amount of spying by Pacific Gas and Electric. And I'll never forget the morning that the Chronicle called me and said, "Deborah, how does it feel being spied on by Pacific Gas and Electric?" And I said, "I don't know what you're talking about." They said, "Well, your name is in the documents." I said, "Well, they spy on us with the smart meters. They've deployed something against our will that's dangerous. How could I expect that they wouldn't be spying?" And then there was a smart meter expert, the actual executive of PG&E, who tried to get into our Google group for the anti-smart meter movement, and he was caught falsifying his name and subsequently fired. And the reason I'm telling you this is that when we discovered that Rothschild is running Pacific Gas and Electric in Southern California, Edison, we then understood what was happening. This is another reason why in the document, the NASA War Plan that I just showed you, there are 8 references to an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse, as what they're going to do. Has anyone ever wondered why we have not hardened up our electrical grid? People have been talking since 2002 to harden up the electrical grid in the United States. They've hardened up the electrical grid in Russia and in China, and they've done a fairly good job in Canada. Nothing in the United States. Why? Because the utilities, of which there are thousands across the country, are run by Rothschild, and the lobbyists do not want the grid hardened. This is all part of a silent weapons takedown. As Angela referred, this is wealth redistribution. This is collapsing our society as we have known it, and this is eliminating the haves and have-nots. I'm going to jump into a number of different topics, but I also want to say that they've hired the criminals to literally be involved in the rebuild of Santa Rosa. What do I mean by that? James Witt, he's a former FEMA guy, and he came out of the Clinton era as the Federal Emergency Management Agency administrator. He's here in town. He's tapped in October to lead the fire recovery nonprofit Rebuild the North Bay. He headed FEMA in the 1990s, but more recently founded a corporation called EB5 Global Management, LLC, which seeks to capitalize on a controversial U.S. law that grants fast-track permanent resident status to foreign nationals in exchange for large investments in this area. They will take $5 million and of course above and guarantee citizenship and 10 jobs. They're harmonizing the rebuild. They're moving in and creating a different society here in Sonoma County. That's what's behind this. And so, but we have many behind the scenes. I want to talk about this because, like you, I've wondered, how on earth is all of this being funded? How can they spray us every day overhead with the jets, cause fires, cause global weather upheaval, and pay for all of this? Well, one of the ways is the CAFR. Maybe many of you have heard about the CAFR. It's a comprehensive annual financial report that each incorporated city and each incorporated county, they're all doing business. They are incorporated. They do not work for you. You think you vote these people in. You do not. They run the Delphi technique. They have policies in place that are predetermined. This is all over the country. This is all over the country. It's not just here in Sonoma County. The CAFR report is important to understand, and I would recommend that everybody check out some videos. Actually, a friend of ours did an excellent video. His name is Jerry Day, and he explains the CAFR in the most logical terms that I've heard. But the bottom line for the CAFR is it's a deliberate and massive swindle that is perpetrated by every government agency from your local school district all the way up to the federal government. So all of the agencies, we're talking the public health departments, we're talking about all the agencies. They are all agencies of a corporate government setup, and they are stealing money. They're doing a double bookkeeping. Any of you that are accountants, you'll be loving to dive into this CAFR. It's a big plot to steal all of our public funds. As soon as our revenue goes into government, they skim off millions and trillions of dollars, and they put it in the corporate funding on the New York Stock Exchange. It is an enormous money laundering scheme to finance the takedown of all of us. They offshore our jobs. They're reducing America into literally being taken over by robots. How many of you have heard about all the robots? Okay.
Last night on Coast to Coast.
Okay. We're going to talk a little bit about that too. Because in the NASA War document, they tell us this. You can download this from stopthecrime.net as part of the NASA War document. This is just a collection of some of the pages, but they say this. The presentation is based in all cases upon existing data, trends, analysis, technologies, no pixie dust. This is about robots, cyborgs, and humans. We're in a transhumanization period of time. This is why the massive genocide. This was put together by the U.S. Air Force, DARPA, the CIA, the FBI, Southern Command, Atlantic Command, the Australian Department of Defense, and many others. This is a global plan. This is what they said, and when I was looking for this and found this about 5 years ago, I was horrified. Because I didn't think, when I saw this, that this was anything relevant. It just said circa 2025, future war. And I thought, well, I'll just scan it and see what it looks like. And I came upon, interestingly enough, page 66. That was the first page I hit when I opened up this document. And here's what it said. Increasingly critical are human limitations and human downsides. Humans are too large. Humans are too heavy. Humans are too tender. Humans are too slow physically and mentally. We require huge cost, and humans have rapidly to decreasing negative value. They are replacing us. We went to a meeting down at the Dominican College a few years ago, and I found this information that I would like to read that is unthinkable. It talks about the changes that we're going to experience. And while I'm hunting for that, I'm going to tell you about this, because we're in a war of frequencies. We're in an amped up world of frequencies that we can physically, we can't survive. 5G is coming in. We did a YouTube. I would recommend everybody take a look at it. Lou and I went to an IEEE meeting in San Jose a few years ago. We paid a lot of money to attend. They tried to steal his camera. They had him backed up against the wall, and we were able to convince them that we weren't going to give them the camera, but instead we got a letter from their Park Avenue, New York law firm saying if we used any footage of the filming there, they would sue us. So what we did was we took copious notes, and it's up on YouTube. It's called IEEE, Technology Future Death Trap. Again, IEEE, I-E-E-E, Technology Future Death Trap, Deborah Taveras. IEEE stands for Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers, and they meet globally all over the world, and they design your future. And it is all done on the Delphi technique. Those engineers that were at these meetings from all over the world were put at tables with the easels and were asked questions. These people really, engineers, don't know how they're being led into the demise of the plans that they are creating. And it was surreal to see the Delphi technique being orchestrated every single place we went. But I want to talk to you about what I just found on the IEEE website about 5G, and 5G is coming. And that's why I have the YouTube, the Cooking of Humanity. I would certainly ask all of you to take a look at the Cooking of Humanity. And in order to understand what the Cooking of Humanity is, Lou and I flew up to Portland, Oregon a few years ago to interview Barry Trower. He's considered a foremost expert globally on weaponized warfare. And we went up there so that we could interview him. I'm going to read a few things that he tells us. And then I'd certainly urge you to all look at the YouTube, The Cooking of Humanity. In every year since the 1960s, I trained the government microwave warfare establishment. I looked at all aspects of microwave warfare. I had a lot of expertise in the microwave field, and I was asked if I would carry on with this research. He said we are in a new Cold War, and this is why countries all over the world are developing microwave weapons. He says, I really mean they are developing microwave weapons. And this is why all the microwave transmitters are going up everywhere, because somebody, if they wanted to, could use them for other effects, and they are. They're doing that now. The system is up and running. Years ago, our government said to its scientists, when it comes to microwaves, you will only talk about things to do with heat. That's it, only to talk about heat. So they won't even discuss anything else other than heat. They will deny anything that doesn't have anything to do with heat. They even deny all their 40 years of research leading up to this, although they've said that this heat can cause cancer and all the damage. They say no, it can't. We're only looking at heat, and that's all that matters is heat. So, he said, for the last 40 years, the English government has been lying to the people, and the American, Canadian, and Australian governments and other global governments have been lying to its people. They have been lying to protect industry and to protect their profits. So they're really liars, and it's provable, sanctioned by the World Health Organization. Without a shadow of a doubt, it is the same people that sit on the ICNAP certificate, they sit on our government's health protection agencies, and they sit on the World Health Organization. It's all the same people. There are probably no more than 20 people that control everything. But yes, they're going to, in my opinion, commit the worst genocide this planet has ever known. Not just people, but animals and plants. They are probably going to use more destruction and cause more destruction than a global war, and in several hundred years' time, people will look back, whoever is able to survive, and look at what we tried to do to stop them. That's why we're working hard to get this information out, because we're being now rolled over by 5G. And this is off the IEEE website. It's everything you need to know about 5G. And this is how they sell it. Today's mobile users want faster data speeds and more reliable service. The next generation of wireless networks, 5G, promises to deliver just that and so much more. The 5G users should be able to download a high-definition film in under a second, a task that takes 10 minutes on 4G now. And wireless engineers say these networks will boost the development of other new technologies too, such as autonomous vehicles, virtual reality, and the Internet of Things. If all goes well, the telecommunication companies hope to debut this new commercial 5G network in the early 2020s. But right now, the 5G is still in the planning stages. It's not. They're getting ready to roll it out. They tell us that companies and industry groups are working together to figure out exactly what it will look like. But we all agree on one matter.